G'day folks, today we're talking about the 5 steps to making the ultimate gin and tonic, so stick around and learn how to make the best gin and tonic ever. Step number 1 is your glassware. Now the good news is there's no wrong answer when it comes to glassware. You use a different type of glassware to result in the drink that you prefer the most. So there's 3 types of glassware you'll commonly come across these days. The first is the highball. The highball is great if you like a really cold drink that stays fizzy for as long as possible. The reason for that is because there's a little bit less surface area on the top, so less room for those bubbles to escape, so it stays fizzier for longer. Kind of like the same way a champagne flute is long and narrow, it's the same thing for the highball glass. The next type of glass you'll commonly see is a wine glass style, or you might hear it called a copper if it's got that big goblet shape kind of with the wider mouth. Now this is really good if you want a really aromatic drink. So if you've got a gin that's rich in botanicals, you really want to bring out all those different aromas, that extra surface area on the top is really going to help all those botanicals shine. Obviously that's the trade-off against that is it will get flatter quicker. Word of warning when picking the copper, be very careful not to pour too much tonic in. It's a big glass and that can mean that you get a drink where the gin just gets lost in it. Don't pour too much in there. Very tempting because they're big glasses and we all love gin at the end of the day. The second thing is obviously with that bigger surface area the drink will go flatter quicker, so you need to drink it a little bit faster. The third type of glassware is this one that I'm using today, which is kind of a hybrid between the two, which I think is the perfect balance to get a nice fizzy drink and also get all those aromas. So guys, step number 2 is make sure you use really good ice in your gin and tonic. Don't grab that service station ice, it's terrible. It all goes crumbly, it dilutes your drink faster. Trust me guys, make it at home. Just grab yourself a rubber ice cube tray. The rubber ones are best, they tend to make more solid ice. Your drink will stay colder and less watery, less diluted for longer. The next thing to talk about ice is don't be scared of it. Don't be afraid to pack your glass with ice. Basically, the general rule of thumb is when you fill your drink with tonic, you don't want those cubes to be floating. You want them to be all the way through. Now, a lot of people think that more ice means a more watery drink, but it couldn't be further from the truth. When you put loads of ice into your drink, all those cubes keep each other cold, so they actually melt slowly than if you put 1 cube in there. Trust me, do an experiment. Do 1 glass full of ice, one with 1 or 2 cubes, leave it and see what happens. The last thing to talk about ice is those big cubes. Just be careful when we're using the big cubes. The big cubes are great at keeping things cold, but they're very bad at getting things cold. If you're gonna use the big cubes, you need ice cold tonic and probably even keep your gin cold, because otherwise your gin and tonic, when you first take that sip, it's gonna be warm and we don't want that. So guys, the third step in making the best gin and tonic imaginable is the gin. Obviously, use a good quality gin. It's very easy to find one these days. There's so many distilleries here in Australia and all across the world that are making amazing gin. Use a good quality one. Also, when it comes to gin, please measure your gin. It's very hard to accurately pour a gin without a jigger. So measure your gin. Trust me, you'll thank me later. Give it a good slug and enjoy your gin and tonic. So guys, the 4th step in making the best gin and tonic you can is obviously the tonic. Again, as with the gin, use a good quality tonic. The tonic is gonna be 3/4 of your drink, so you need to use a good one. Otherwise, your gin and tonic, it's just not gonna be that good. Now, the next thing with the tonic is, guys, don't be afraid to also measure your tonic. Once you have a good sense of how big your glass is, go ahead, pour it, because obviously pouring it to the jigger and then pouring it into the glass, it'll make it a little bit flatter, which isn't ideal. But what is less ideal is either pouring too much tonic or not pouring enough tonic. The golden ratio is 3 parts of tonic to 1 part of gin. So guys, in this drink, I just poured 30 mLs of gin, or an ounce for our American friends. That means I need 90 mils of tonic to make that golden 3:1 ratio, or 3 ounces. That will make a great starting point for everyone. Some will like it a little bit stronger, some will like it a little bit weaker, but that's totally fine. This is your starting point to find out what works for you. That ratio works really well for your standard strength gins, and by standard strength I mean high 30% or low 40%. Anything kind of outside of that, you will need to adjust your ratio slightly. Now guys, the 5th and final step of making the ultimate gin and tonic is the garnish. It wouldn't be complete without a garnish. Base your garnish around the gin. The gin is the star of the show. It's the base of the drink, so you want that to shine. Here's my general rules on how to pick a garnish. Always, with a gin and tonic, you want to add complexity with your garnish. So if your gin is super strong in one flavor, then you either want to contrast that really strong flavor, or you want to bring out the more subtle flavors. Now, in this example where we're using Never Never's Triple Juniper Gin, we're going to go with a lemon wedge and thyme. Why is that? Well, check out the video on the review of this gin, but there's some subtle citrus notes that we really want to bring out with that lemon wedge, but we want to add some extra complexity. And now thyme, there's not much herbal flavors going on this gin, so adding a sprig of thyme adds an extra layer of complexity. So guys, it's either contrast those big bold flavors or complement the subtle flavors. That is how you make the most complex and delicious gin and tonic that'll have you coming back for more and more every time. So guys, that's how to make the ultimate gin and tonic. I hope you've enjoyed that video. Please hit like and subscribe down below. Let me know what you want to see next. Until next time guys, cheers.